Hey, and welcome to TSOB. This is a podcast for entrepreneurs who are interested in investing or starting their own funds. We are Adam Anderson and Zach Eikenberry. Join us to get a behind-the-scenes look at the relationships between founding entrepreneurs and the VCs that invest in them. Hey, buddy. I just got back from rooftop drinking in Manhattan. So I'm feeling pretty exhausted and happy, and life is good. What's going on in your world?
I just moved to a new house. I think we can relate. And I'm very excited about some upcoming summer travels with the family. I am one that when things get stressful, I look forward to the next travel event. And so that's fun for me. And we are in the midst of too much attention and interest in our fundraising.
I know, right?
We went from begging for meetings, as it were, really having to hustle, find the warm intros, do the indirect influential workarounds to every setup, to every meeting.
Yep.
To, I have interest in my inbox I still can't get to right now. As of this morning, I still have to carve out some time this afternoon to go sit down and say, okay, here's when we can meet.
So. That's good. I mean, that's fantastic. And what you just put in my head is there's a switching of skill set from hustle to booking to, and that's can be exhausting because it's not like it's a flip a switch. You still have to be, all right, I gotta be, my stuff together, be ready to go for the first contact. And now all of a sudden I can't even get to the first contacts. And help me with that number. Is it more than 10, less than 10? Because what people might not understand is how much work goes into each one of these contacts.
Right now, there are probably 15 investors or VCs in the foot race at some level. And so I have been utilizing just our sales CRM, HubSpot, to manage this. And it's quickly become apparent that I need to get a dedicated, either build out a pipeline within HubSpot and allow that to be the management tool, or to get a dedicated investor fundraising CRM. And there are plenty of those out there. But
tell me why you need to do that.
So to have your investor templates ready to go, you have your data room set up so that you can send out for your due diligence. You can have you can do your research and due diligence and see which companies these VCs have already funded.
And Carta isn't a tool to do that with. That is
no. Carta manages. It's fundamentally Carta is an equity management platform. And they built on top of it investor updates, board management tools, etc. But fundamentally just manages equity. So the CRM manages your prospecting and work with your investors, your VCs. And part of it is, I think I need to institutionalize that fundraising element, because just because the Series A is looking very positive right now, that means I also need to build relationships for Series B, C, and beyond, so that even right now, today, there are some folks out there. So we, I don't know if I can use his name yet. I haven't asked permission.
Don't do it.
Yeah, we'll have to beep it out.
We don't edit that well, dude. We're not putting in that level of effort.
Yeah.
We just
Or we'll get to our executive producer and see what they can do with it. But
right.
We have an investor who they themselves had a multi-billion-dollar exit with their company, and they talk in ways in which they say, like, they were constantly having to tell venture capital folks, hey, I don't have any room in this round. We'll get you on the next go round. And
which is weird to say out loud.
Yeah, it's very weird to say out loud. But that's the truth of it. Like, the truth of it right now, behind the scenes, and this is part of what we get into. Is this what we're talking about today?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this.
I want to hear about New York.
Well, I'll get to New York, but you're on a tear. Let's go.
So we are in that position that I don't think I expected us to be in. It's the same position that when all of a sudden Google started liking us, when we just spent 2 years writing content, linking, building out all the blocking and tackling, the bread and butter of building out a website that people want to visit, get value from, etc. And then overnight, Google gods were like, because nobody reads your website except for Google for the first 2 years. All of a sudden,
so
Google
that's a really important thing you just said. No one reads your website for the first 2 years except for Google. So write for Google.
Yes, that's right. The switch happened overnight. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, you went from ranking like you had 4 or 5 obscure keywords on pages 3 through 5 to 10 and all this. And all of a sudden it was like, here's 3 keywords on page 1. Here's 10 keywords on page 1. And it just snowballed quickly to such an extent that it like made our mind shift flip on what we were doing, because we started seeing the actual return on all the effort. We were just pushing blindly, hoping that all these SEO experts were true. Like, just push, just do it. And you're like, all right, fine, we'll do it. And it did, it worked. The same thing is happening with the fundraising, right? Where in order to raise our first $2 million, I pitched the number of times I had pitched in the calendar invite when I searched back through Google, that there was a pitch going on, was 400 meetings.
No kidding.
Yeah, 400 meetings where I said I was pitching to raise 2 million.
Okay. No wonder you're no fun. God, you must be exhausted.
So I mean, several of those times, are multiple times a day. There are also pitch reviews in there, etc. So like,
sure.
Perhaps like in front of actual investors, it's about half of that. And then like when you start pulling down, that's your funnel. I talked to 200 investors, 50 of them showed some sort of interest to move forward. The follow-up calls, I went down to 10. Now of those 10 are we've raised across all of our investor base. Right now, our cap table has a number of folks in it. Last I checked, we had about 30 people have written us some sort of check. And so I said 30, no. Today,
30 people on the cap table, but not every one of those.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry. Yeah, I misspoke. Yeah. So we're around 20 people have written a check. So anyway, when we circle back to it, all of a sudden our interest in our bridge as we approach this 1 million ARR, but even more impressive is our pipeline and how quickly we were able to do it. To go from virtually 0 to 1 million, that acceleration is more interesting than the velocity.
Yeah.
And so because acceleration means your velocity is getting faster, right? So yeah, we have a great velocity, but it's getting even faster over time. That has led us to a point where we're oversubscribed in our bridge, and we are trying to find a way to navigate to a Series A. And it's very difficult right now because there's external pressure to get the bag and raise all the money you can right now.
Yep.
Even if the valuations and dilution and all those other things, what people are willing to trade for our company is lower, get the bag, but we also don't need the capital coming out of a bridge close. I say need. We don't. The current business plan can survive, and we can grow and deliver everything we say we're going to deliver based on the capital we have. And so that's an interesting margin.
Real clear though, like the plan you have right now is an aggressive plan that hits the numbers and gets us where we want to be, in the next 3 to 4 or 5 years. I can't remember where we are with the plan right now, but it's like you have an opportunity to make that even go faster and bigger. And the math you're doing right now is, do I take dilution, but create a bigger pie for the sake of acceleration? And well, it's not even the sake
Yeah.
of acceleration. It's also mental health to know that you're going to have the capital you need for the plan.
Yeah. The interesting thing is the people that participate in the bridge are going to see book value markup almost overnight, effective. Like, so we've been raising some bridge capital since January, right? And so Anzu's participated to kick it all off. We raised some from other current investors. We got, as part of it, we did leverage some venture debt. We can talk about that if we like, but and that really helped us at a real key crossroads. The venture debt did, but then that allowed us to keep our foot on the gas, which we have. Today alone, we have like 2 things in filming. We have several large renewals taking place by the end of June with clients that are upgrading and renewing with us, including Life Alert, which is fun.
Yeah.
Which is one of our fun clients. And then Life Alert still exists and they still have more employees than you think they do. I think that's
okay. That's a way of putting it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like they may have fallen and can't get up, but they're not down and out.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
That's good. And so we have those things going, and we have people at a conference right now.
Yeah,
like everything's happening, and so I say that to say, like, the people who get in on the Series A right now after supporting our bridge and or get in on the bridge who've gotten in. I'm going to start over. The people who have gotten in on the bridge, and then if our Series A, when it comes to what that is going to look like, they might get a tremendous markup in 6 months to 9 months.
Oh, heck yeah. The way you're playing this game is, so the people who jump in on this bridge and on this early Series A are going to get the benefit of your hustle to minimize the impact of dilution. Meaning, in order for you to make sure that the founding team gets everything that we were trying to get and all those things, you need to grow a just badass velocity, badass acceleration, all the things to make sure that our Series B sets the ship up right, And so these folks have like this amazing opportunity to ride at the bottom of the trough and get to the top, right? Real quick. And so, but I think that's kind of what's the industry is doing right now. And there's a lot of founders who are fighting, no, I'm 20X and that's what I am. And the investors are like, I'm only interested in deals. And I'm only interested in seeing how I can maximize my return over X amount of time. The funny thing that I think you're getting to experience is nobody's really talking about deals. Everyone's saying, yeah, this is fair valuation. Yeah, this is great. I mean, you're not, I don't see you negotiating hard with potential investors on valuation. Everybody's like, and I think a lot of that has to do that you have a rock star CFO who just tells it how it is. And everyone's like, yep, that's how this all works.
Yeah. We're not trying to beat market. So right. There's no ego involved in the investment piece, right? It's a transaction.
That's not normal, dude. That's no ego involved is not a normal thing.
Not for valuation purposes. Like, right. So if you watch WeWork, one of the things that the Adam Newman character, or not WeWork, WeCrash, the Adam Newman character, Jacob Leto, keeps saying is like, we are $1 billion, and he'll do this little thing, or we are and then towards the end when he's delusional, he's like, we're $1 trillion company, right? And he manifests that out to believe, and he makes the world move towards that, and that's fine. But to me, what was portrayed in that movie, as it were, docuseries, miniseries, is the fact that a person can manifest certain things about their reality.
Yeah.
Right. But when it comes to like the democratization, which is a valuation principle, especially like an IPO, this is thousands and thousands of people all deciding and agreeing on what the value is, and the value shift. That's why day trading occurs, right? Because values are buyers and sellers are always the I don't think you need an ego there, right? You can tell a story, and he did tell a story, but you don't need an ego to say like, finally we are a $30 million company.
Yeah.
Like that's just markup on paper. There's no like let's say it's the same for real estate. I grew up in a family that invested in real estate a lot, flipped houses. My mom was a realtor, right? Like my mom was always just like, take the comps. Like that's what it is. Like you can try to be smarter than people, and maybe you price it, $15,000 over what she recommends, etc. And maybe there's a buyer for it. You're just an outlier looking for an outlier buyer. But if you're serious about selling your house, take the comps and don't go less, don't go more. Just take the comps. Yeah. And so take the comps on the market. And then when you get into the house, like this is the other part of it. It's all paper money because like, let's say you're the buyer, which is the investor side, they only have so much equity, and then they just can mark it up on paper. So as a founder, I'm just marking it up on paper. I just bought a house and people are like, congrats on buying the house. Well, hold on. I didn't buy a house. The mortgage company bought the house.
The bank bought the house. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm buying it from the bank over time. That's all that's happening. So it's a paper deal. And so there's no real value there for me. And so I can't liquidate it. So I'm rambling, but that is part of my belief set is take the market, don't argue with it. If you want to be smarter than it, then you're going to have a hell of a story to be smarter than everybody else in the market.
Well, to put a bow on that, what I think you just said was if your genius is I'm smarter than the market, that's one thing. But what I like is when you say my genius is building an amazing company that produces the results that we're looking for the company to produce. And it doesn't matter how I approach the market because I'm going to produce the things that the market is expecting. And so that it becomes #easy mode in order to move forward. And when I mean easy mode, I mean the conversations are easier. Because if you're trying to be better than the market, well, then you're the other person across the table now also be better than the market. Most people aren't. So how are those conversations going to go? And the other part about take the comps is I'm a real true believer in the win-win-win. I'm a real true believer in aligning incentives. And if you're out to beat the market, then one of the things I hear you say is I'm out to beat my investors. Mm-hmm. And that sits wrong with me. It also sits wrong with the investors saying I'm going to beat the entrepreneur. That's also incorrect. I like we're all in this together. We have healthy alignments. We have freedom to disagree, but we basically agree on where we're going inside of this, system and these controls. And so, take the comps. That should be like that should be like on a t-shirt. I was going to say it's not quite tattoo ready because I don't know if I love it forever, but for now, take the comps, baby.
When Anzus has a booth one day at like a VC Expo type thing, we'll pass out shirts that say "Take the comps."
Yeah, that'll be it. That's it. Do you want to grow your business or do you want to negotiate? Because what else?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're not smarter than you. You're not smarter than us. Take the market. Take the comps.
I never want to have I know that a lot of people do great work at conferences with booths. That's not me. I don't want that at all. What I want is when Anzus has rents the yacht for the people to come out to and hang out. In order to get on the yacht, you have to take a knee and yell, "Take the comps," and then you can cross the gangplank onto.
You hand them the Corona and they jump on. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Everybody bow to the market gods. Everybody sits there and bows to the market gods.
That's right. If you don't want to and you want to beat the market, so you can
name your yacht Market Rate.
Oh my gosh. So it's Market Rate, and the gangplank, the easy way to get into the Market Rate is You have to yell, take the comps, and then you get to walk across it. But if you want to beat the market, we have a rope swing that you got to take a running jump, and maybe you land on the deck. Most likely you're going to hit the side of it and end up in the water.
This is something you can actually manifest. So you don't manifest $1 trillion valuation, but you can manifest a boat called market rate.
There are people. So by the way, talking about boats, I also, you're part of an organization. I'm part of M3, and there's a January Learn to Sail in the US Virgin Islands that I'm going into, right? And the more I'm learning about boats, the more I'm like, oh my gosh, even if we just rented a boat for like $1,000 for an hour, we can make this happen, right? So, but the idea of one day owning a fairly nice boat that's called market rate. And every time I hold a networking event, there's a challenge. It's like, hey, there's an easy way to get on this boat, and then there's your way.
If you take the market rate, come on.
Right. As a matter of fact, it's based off of all the conversations that we had for the last 3 weeks. Like, you don't get a choice. It's my opinion on how you're negotiating with the fund. I'm like, you're definitely a rope swing guy.
Got my boat rope swing on here.
That's right. You're gonna need to probably stretch a little bit. That's fine. You got 30 minutes to psych yourself up. The boat's leaving, but you do you.
You know what would be? I was gonna be a little dark with it, but I'll take the fun level, like taking a whole bunch of prospects and companies and smart entrepreneurs and founders out on a boat, like a big enough boat, that there be 20, 30 people comfortably out there, and spending a day is freaking great way to really understand, because you start seeing how the founders interact with each other, and it quickly becomes apparent which founders get the level and which ones you give $1 million to, they'll give you 100 million back.
So that's the whole my strategy with every fund that Anzus creates is synergy funds. And so I need to see how these people are going to work together, because Zach, I'm trying to put you with another deal we're doing right now where they absolutely need cybersecurity and they have access to new markets, and Hook will plug right into that. But if I didn't see you already hanging out with that CEO and I saw that you guys were able to get along, there is no way I would do this. I took the phone calls for the new portfolio company because I saw how the CEO interacted with the CEO of somebody who already has taken some money from us. So I have always wanted to do an entrepreneurial regatta where you have 10 boats, 6 entrepreneurs on each one have their own team. I give each one of them a live monkey that they have to keep alive. And actually, let's be honest.
You're inviting like a whole group of people who will win just by sabotage.
Well, yeah, but but we get to see it because they think they're winning. But I would be like, but you didn't. But Billy, you're the only one who stood by and helped the man who fell down the ditch, right? So they think they know. But actually, we had this conversation before. You cannot have a live monkey. Let me rephrase that. We don't want to have a live monkey on all these boats. You can. I'm not gonna be that guy that says no monkeys, but there will be.
It's 2022. If you're gatekeeping monkeys, you're doing it wrong.
Look, if you, without having monkeys on the boats, remember I need 10 monkeys for 10 boats for 60 entrepreneurs. That's 100% less face bites. And
sure, I'm gonna name my boat Bananas, and I'm going to keep yelling, this ship is bananas.
You should. And I hope you never learn to sail. No, I hope you don't. I hope you drift off and I just keep yelling. That's right. And there's no actually, and it turns out it's a little dinghy. It's like a 1-person boat, and you're just like, the rest of the armada, the regatta is sailing away, and Zach is just like, oh, with an oar over his head.
or as an act of symbolism and a way to dominate and have fear, on the back of market rate is the little dinghy with me sitting in it. And I just like we drag him along everywhere. In Zeus Capital, he was our first investment. And we drag him everywhere. It's a metaphor, people.
Yeah, the length of rope is a symbolic thing. Like how close is he to how close is bananas to market rate is everything to do with like how well you're performing. It's like, ooh, last quarter was kind of bad.
I keep yelling like, we're going to sell NFTs now. And you're like, give him more rope.
Yeah, give him a little bit more rope. That sounds a little distracting. That sounds a little bit more distracting. No, but the idea of getting clarity on alignment through events, a booth don't do it for me, but making it a value exchange, like what I really would love to do is have Anzus teach upcoming entrepreneurs who are raising money how to do all this, get them all on a armada, a regatta of boats, and every night we stop at an island and we learn capital allocation on the beach, and everyone's hanging out and getting to know each other. That's how all this works. That's a 2-year play, man. That is priceless stuff there, and it's also not as expensive as you would think. So anyway, I think we sufficiently went down a rabbit hole, and I'm super happy about it.
Yeah, me too. I would love to hear, you were just a speaker panelist at an NFT conference, which a couple of folks I follow actually got shout outs on as being an excellent conference, which that was very interesting to be like, I know a guy there. Love to hear some of your thoughts that you're incubating and tossing around in your head coming back from that conference.
So when I go to a conference, I want to accomplish 3 things. First thing is I want to find somebody who I can disproportionately help. I want to go with an act of service in my heart. So a lot of my networking is trying to understand the people in front of me and how I can disproportionately help them with something. And usually I end up bumping into a young person who's got a lot of excitement and not a whole lot of access. And usually it's a door opening, or sometimes it's whatever. I have no judgment on what that looks like. That's just what I'm looking for. The second thing is I really, really, really want to challenge a core belief. And normally when I go to a conference, I'm curious about what core belief is going to get challenged. But I went there specifically to challenge a core belief, and I'll circle back to that in a second. And the third thing is to make a lifelong friend. If I can walk away with like a really cool buddy, then that was a really good conference. None of that.
That's a high bar.
That's a really good conference.
I need somebody to connect with and transfer knowledge with and to. I need a strong epiphany in a life-changing moment, and then I need somebody to be at my funeral. Like that is
well, Zach, I can see why you would think that's a big ask with your personality and your current level of social skills. But for someone like myself, it's basically a layup.
That's fair enough.
It's hard. Yeah. You know how you're drowned. I oversubscribed my best friends is what happened is when I got there. It's like, whoa, I only can pick one. You guys are going to have to knife fight, no plastic knives. We're not monsters. Come on now. It was at Margaritaville. Actually, they used parrots. They used stuffed parrots. Just like a pillow fight, but with a parrot. 2 stones, 1 bird. So yeah, it was at Margaritaville, which was interesting. It's a year-old resort downtown Manhattan, Times Square. It's got a pool, so throughout the day, people were getting in the pool to paddle because it was like 90-something degrees. It was hot out there.
Buffett officially became a billionaire this year.
Good for him. He's doing great.
That's right.
I had a chance to see Buffett in Antarctica, and I didn't go. That's a fun sentence to say out loud.
Yeah. That's right. This conversation's going south.
Yeah. Oh, ow, my foot. I stepped on a pop top. Anyway, now I've got cheeseburger in paradise going through my head. So let's talk about that core belief I wanted to challenge. I am all about the conversation that we just were having about aligning incentives and equitable capital allocation. And I thought to myself, why in the world is the capital allocation business still doing what it's doing? Why is the form how it was? We went to Austin, and I began to get kind of upset that my subjective opinion about something I don't have any idea about is going to determine whether or not that person is going to get funding or not. right? Because if I have a negative opinion of the thing you brought to me, and then another VC calls me and says, hey, I know you took a look at it. What do you think? I'm going to tell the truth. It's like, I didn't understand it. It didn't seem like da, 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 da. And so it seems to me that the current market is that there's this ocean of capital that is untapped on one side. You have professional capital allocators, venture capital, private equity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, standing in front of that money and trying to convince that ocean of money that, hey, let me help you. I'll direct this for good and for, high returns and all that kind of stuff. And then you have on the other side of all those capital allocators, people who need that capital. And so I'm looking at the fact that there is a bottleneck, a massive bottleneck between an ocean of capital waiting to get deployed and an ocean of people who can do something amazing with it. And then we have that bottleneck of the capital allocation professionals. And I don't think that's a bad thing, because to let these two oceans collide without any kind of governance or any kind of smart human being or smart process makes it very messy. And so I do like that there is what we have. And I think it can be better. So I wanted to learn, is there a way to, first thing I wanted to learn is what's DeFi's role going to be inside of the capital allocation profession. And when I say DeFi, decentralized finance, you got centralized finance, and then you got decentralized finance. When I say decentralized, most people are going to think cryptocurrencies. They're going to think stablecoin lending. They're going to think of all that kind of stuff. And that's what I'm talking about. So the idea that I was playing with when I was landing in Manhattan, I was thinking, can I launch a fund? Let's say I want to raise 150 million and I want to invest in space companies, whatever. Can I launch a fund where I sell 300,000 NFTs at $500 a pop to raise 150 million and have those NFTs act as my limited partners while I have the same model in place for deploying the capital, be the general partners? Because what happens is that if you do not align with your limited partners as raising a fund, you do not get the money, right? It's still many gates between that ocean of money and the capital allocators. And so being able, for example, my original thesis was about doing some stuff with cybersecurity. And that thesis did not resonate strongly with limited partners I was trying to raise money from. And so I had to pivot my thesis until I married it to what they wanted to deploy capital with. And so I took a little bit of the shine off of my vision, and I realized that it's actually jazz music now. I understand that I should be building funds in collaboration with limited partners, not me building the, Mozart's Jupiter Symphony and forcing them to love it, but giving taking jazz music is the right way. But the idea of, hey, can I leverage an NFT in a different way? And so what I discovered is sure, but okay, so let me tell you about this conference. We had amazing artists who were creating amazing NFTs, and they were playing in that art space. And then we had folks in suits who were like, do I need to dress down a little bit? Should I put on some tennis shoes? So we had capital allocators and artists in the same conference. And it was wild because it really helped me stretch my thinking. So again, the conference was NFT VIP. Sign up, go next time. You'll absolutely love it. Julie was amazing. It's fantastic. So the punchline was that no one has the answer to this yet, but people are very, very interested. And the other punchline is the SEC isn't giving really, really good, clear guidance on how they're going to be approaching this. And so that means my lessons learned. One of the guys was like, you got to go try it. Someone needs to be sued first. Might as well be you. I was like, no, I'm not that guy. No, someone's going to go try it and have the SEC bring a suit against them is what the guy was saying. And I was like, that sounds like a thing for you to do. That's not the game I want to play. So yeah, no, it's particularly fascinating to me. And what it boiled down to was there's nothing interesting beyond the fact that it's crowdfunding 101, and you just happen to be using NFTs, smart contracts, and blockchains to provide the transparency in crowdfunding that you don't normally get from, use of funds, with, particularly like those kind of Kickstarter sites, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. What do you, this is what I'm curious about, is that connection between capital allocators frameworks and NFTs. And I know what you're telling me is this cool epiphany about transparency and ability to, reach into a more democratized world where everybody has a vote and can put their money where they want. There's a couple of things that all these lawsuits previously have done, right? It's on one hand, it's basically said, if you don't have capital or don't have a lot of capital, you can't play.
Correct.
With the high return items.
Correct.
So it's called accredited investor. It's a way that we tell some people they're smart and other people they're stupid. And
okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's what it is. It's a discriminatory act to basically say you don't know what to do with your own dollars. We're here to protect you from investing in these high risk schemes because it could be snake oil.
Ponzi / grandma protection, right?
Yeah. So, but if you prove to us that you already have a lot of money, then you can go make a lot of money with high risk, high return items. So you have those hurdles that have been put in place by previous frameworks of thinking, right? But there's larger, I was listening to this, I guess it was a lecture or maybe it was a talk by a Stanford MBA professor who was saying like, listen, there are too many cryptos out there to invest in. At the time Henry Ford was coming along, there was something like 1,000 automobile manufacturers across the United States, and Ford and GM and then like Studebaker and a few others like really kind of stood out for a bit, but then they all just and it's impossible to figure out which one's going to win. And his entire framework was about picking winners, losers, saying 80% of the market's going to go one way, 20% is going to go another. And it was this framework of like Stanford, Harvard, Ivy League thinking about investment that's been true for 50 years. And then they brought that same framework over to crypto and said, like, how is crypto going to win in our framework? And crypto is saying like, no. Like, you guys manipulate fiat dollars. The way you guys de-risk is you create this little lever at the Fed and pull things up and down. And we see that as some crypto purists see it as immoral, right? But the other see it as like, this is just an insider game that's not democratized.
Yeah.
The money's held by 20 people in Manhattan and that's it.
Yeah.
And so I say that to say like, how are you seeing the conversation around changing the frameworks and then changing the SEC regulations that support those frameworks?
So that is a better way to say what my curiosity was, is how does DeFi modify the frameworks? And my conclusion is it maybe shouldn't. It might be an or thing where traditional money going through traditional frameworks is just going to be the way it is, and you have another vehicle, another path over here that's DeFi. And I think a lot of people who are trying to figure this stuff out are coming to the same conclusion, where
like we run multiple economies.
Correct.
We run a Web3 economy and we run a traditional economy. That the traditional economy is just retail with online store access, right? It's just
So the you look at legacy technologies and they stick around for a long time, right? There's still rotary phones on this planet. Mm-hmm. So I don't see a world where there's a flip of the switch where we go from one to the other. What I see is an emerging new economy, a new way for money to flow. And will it survive? I don't know. Is it the right play? I don't know. But there's opportunity to do good things inside of chaos and disruption. And That's where I feel like I should be sitting in the middle of, is seeing this stuff and gathering information, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Do you see the power? Man, this sounds conspiratorial. The at least the influence and the buying ability moving from Manhattan and fiat dollars to, I think of places like Bangkok, Thailand, right? Where like there is an incredible bifurcation between the have and have nots in Bangkok, right? There's people who own the hotels, and then there's people who sleep on the steps of the hotel, right? Like,
Yep.
and but to empower the people that are not in the hotels, right? The people in the hotels build it with fiat dollars. Do you see this as an empowering move for the people who have been disenfranchised from the economy?
Yeah. Well, and let me tell you, I'll go narrow on that. Let's use the starving artist as our example, because a lot of people are understanding art and how the Web 3.0 is there, and they're calling it the creator economy. And the idea of this, and I heard this example at the conference, was you design a dress and you now put it on the blockchain, or you put it on this market, and someone's like, oh my gosh, I love that design. I'm going to modify it with these colors and this texture and these fabrics. And so now I also have that. And then I go sell that pattern, that whatever, and someone buys it. Now, because it's on the blockchain, and because all the stuff is there, and because it's all smart contract and everyone's previously agreed, the money flows to everybody. The person who designed the thing gets it, and the person, and to set something like that up in today's world requires an awful lot of contracts. Are we going to joint venture? I'm just picturing the amount of paperwork and lawyers involved to make sure all of that happens. And so the way I can see this helping the folks who are not allowed or not in the current economy is that you're going to be able to step into systems that are geared to distribute the wealth through the entire supply chain and all members, not to concentrate the wealth at a particular spot, trusting that those folks are going to make the best calls. And, humanity is complicated because, my problem is with all this democratization is that not everyone does the work to educate themselves. Right. And so I'm like, gosh, really, everyone has the right to vote? That seems, are they? Because there's times where I won't vote on a thing because I don't know enough. And I'm like, I just don't know how to weigh in on this. Right. And when I think about capital allocation,
call me next time.
Oh, I thought we agreed. I was just going to sell you mine on the blockchain. Yeah. No worries.
NFT your voting card.
There you go. Oh, great. Yeah, I'm funding that now. Whoever wants to do that, and let me know. I got you, babe. Would you like to buy votes? That sounds bad.
My NFT of here's my voter registration, and you can.
Here's my voter registration. It's an NFT. Click here to set mail-in ballot.
I'll fill this out however you want me to.
Yeah. Don't do that. That sounds bad. Don't do that.
But there's going to mark our word. So it's June 22nd, 2022. If not this election cycle, 2026, Congress is going to have to take action on NFTs for voter registration.
You heard it first. Yeah. Get that bird. So I am completely lost where I was going, and was deep too. But you were asking.
You were being narrow about the democratization, and you were saying like we both have to have a set of experts in Web3 and a set of participants in Web3, and they can have equal footing. I say Web3 as just this. I
hate naming it Web3, but I got nothing better.
Yeah, I know. Listen, I'm in the fishing world with a PH, and it's the dumbest name. And it probably holds us back as an industry calling it fishing. It is so hard for mainstream buyers to take
Don't
us seriously.
let nerds name things. That's all I have to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And then, anyway. And then the best nerds just drop the E and just make it like R at the end, like Twitter. They put the E back in once they had IPO. But I think that's one of the interesting things to me. So this idea of crowdfunding, crowdsourcing, what have you, is what does it mean to regulate a group of people whose best use is non-regulation, right? You would figure out where the school of fish is going when it comes to investing if you didn't regulate it. But regulation puts this cage in the water around the fish, and now they can only swim where the cage lets them. And so you no longer know what people actually would spend their dollars on or actually buy or invest in, or what they see as solves a problem of theirs, because the SEC regulation, the fiat currency manipulation, etc., the crony capitalism forces them to stay within whatever space they have. The companies that IPO played the IPO game. They're not actually the best companies to get public dollars.
100%.
So that's the struggle that I see happening. And I'm optimistic, but I don't know how to participate in the solution for a second economy that runs parallel to the current economy.
Yeah, I think of it more as in two economies running next to each other that have on-ramps and transfer between the two of them, because there has to be stickiness in between those two economies in some form or fashion. And so I think those sticky parts are the part that I'm really interested in, because I believe that there are good people who are trying to do good things in the world, and they're going to be attracted to the most efficient thing that they can do that lets them move the fastest to complete their missions and have the impact that they want, be it a nonprofit, be it a for-profit, be it whatever. You've got something you want to see in the world. How are you going to go about it?
That, I think you bring up an interesting point about the things between, because for-profit or nonprofits rely on for-profits because profits de-risk the future, etc. But when nonprofits have value-generating assets that they can use for their mission, now you have a different type of nonprofit in the second economy, whatever it is. So I think that's a super cool space. And my guess is that will happen first before mainstream. So you'll get the tech pioneers over in the new economy. My gut says it's going to be nonprofits who see a way to really take their mission forward, things like Space for Humanity, etc., will be over into the new economy early and generate value there. And then people will be drawn to it, because I don't have to consider myself an investor. I can just consider myself a donor and be like, oh, if Space for Humanity wants to raise money over in this new economy and they're asking me to transfer fiat dollars into a new currency over there, cool, I'll do that because it's a donation in my current economy and it's an on-ramp into it. It builds value over there. The next thing you know, mainstream is coming along saying, like, how do we have commercial activity in the second economy? And I think that's my prediction. But
so the way I learn is I do a project, right? And so I think that I'm going to look at, can I crowdfund for my moonshine distillery on the moon? And that'll be my little test lab where we raise a bit of money up front in the traditional way. And then I think our target raise is going to be between 50 and 150 million. I got the price tag for distilling in the Earth's orbit, by the way. It's 55 million. So yeah.
And you might need to over raise in case you want to double it up.
Yeah. So, the 150 million raise, but I think I can do that, but it's going to take about 2.5 to 5 million up front to manage the raise of the crowdfund. And when we were looking at it, we're like, oh my gosh, it's still the same behaviors. We have to engage with human beings. And my preference is to not have an NFT in the conversation. It should just be this seamless integration with new de-risking technologies, not, oh, buy my cool NFT and then there's secondary trading off of it, although that will happen, right? I don't know if we're going to use an OpenSea or if we're going to use some other platform. I'm still trying to figure all that out.
Yeah.
But if you want to learn a thing, go do a thing. And so that is the idea that is probably going to happen. I'll probably really target getting this thing going, probably September, October, November timeframe, and come back and say, I want that to be something that we can talk about, is how is my crypto raise going? How's my NFT, my raise leveraging NFTs going? Because, man, if there's a way that a founder can say, I would need to raise funds and I'm going to raise it from the people who care most about what I'm doing, and I'm not going to ask permission from people who don't understand what I'm doing to go and do this. That's super powerful. And that's a tool I want to understand. And I believe you can take that framework and put it inside of a traditional, fund structure. And let me be clear with that. What I really should have said is it can be a service offered by a firm that helps people build funds, where you say, do you need traditional fiat? Do you need DeFi? Do you need this? And that should be on the menu. And I think that we're going to see that happening in 2023, 2024, where as you are going through a decision-making process of how you're going to raise money for your company, you're going to say, well, is this a tool that's mature enough for me to use?
Yeah. And you have, that's a cool idea, Adam.
It is, Zach. It's my idea. I'm the cool one. I won this podcast.
You get the 2 stones.
Oh, yeah, I did it. Where's that bird? Let's get it done. Well, as always, you're delightful. Congratulations on moving in the new house. Congratulations on having something exciting, some travel coming up, and congratulations on your trials and tribulations of oversubscribing. I really, it's super cool to see where the team has gotten, and it's super cool to watch you surf this wave, because I'm not going to lie, I don't know if you were going to bail and get the wave just going to destroy you, but you put your long locks into the water and like threw your head back in slow motion, and there was like this rainbow, and now you're like hanging 10, and you look like you know what you're doing, and you're producing results that back up the imagery. And so congratulations for all of that. Now go get that money.
Get to that. One of my investors, I was updating them with some of the issues that we're facing right now. And all they replied was, get the bag. And then I was like, okay, cool. So then I replied back with this paragraph about like, well, here's all the options that we have and what we could do, et cetera. And here's the scenario that's playing out. And guess what they replied?
Get the bag.
That's it. Just twice. Just get the bag.
Yeah. I think that's going to start being mine too. Because I like being a place where you get to have conversations about the nuances of it. And then I have like opinions, but it's really your decision. And I'm like, Zach, I get this is fun. I love these conversations. Money in the bank is neat. maybe we should have that. And more money in the bank is neater. Let's bet on future us to unscrew the things that today us put together. Oh, I accidentally diluted us way too much. No problem. Just work harder and be more successful.
That's right. Awesome, man. Well, it's been awesome. I do appreciate it.
Yeah. Hey, and thanks for joining us for the TSOB podcast. Find us on LinkedIn and give us your hot take. The whole reason we're doing this is to get access to better conversations that help us up our game. And if you have something you want to share, we want to hear about it. Find us on the TSOB LinkedIn group and jump in with 2 feet. We can't wait to chat.